Snipers, you have to see what's happening to the cryptocurrency market today as we head into a weekend where the markets are the most manipulated. Bitcoin is still below the $34,788 level, where we also have the monthly and the weekly open. And so at this point, we are heading to the weekend below a major support level. And so we have to talk about what we're expecting, because the weekend tends to bring in volume. And if we start to see a move to the upside or downside, we are in the middle of this channel. This could be a momentous time for Bitcoin, a momentous weekend to say the least. And we'll also talk about altcoins. It is Friday. I'm here to be your umpire. For those that have been tuned into the Snipers channel over the last few weeks, we've been covering the DXY, and today's weekly candle has closed for traditional markets as we're heading into the weekend. And notice how we have this bearish tail candle right now for the DXY rejecting 92.62. That's a very positive thing. And the S&P 500 reacting to this new all-time highs with this bullish continuation candle. And then we look at gold ending the week with this bullish tail fighting to stay above this 1764 area. It's looking really good coming into next week. Things are looking extremely positive in the environments outside of Bitcoin. So I want to talk about the VIX, which measures the volatility of the S&P 500. This is an indicator of fear in markets. It's a very good way to kind of get the gauge on what fear is really taking part when it comes to institutional capital, because the VIX measures the volatility of the S&P 500, one of the largest markets in the world. You can see in March 2020, obviously we saw a lot of fear, which brought the VIX up. And when the Fed started to print money and we started to see all of the stimulus and the bonds being purchased, that's when the VIX started to come down. So it's been a goal for the Feds to bring this VIX down to a calmer level so that we could see more strength and confidence in outside markets, not just the tech sector, for example, but we look at like the Dow Jones, for example, one of the most underperforming indices over the last year. That's something that we know the Feds want, which is bringing the VIX down. And part of that is allowing the S&P 500 to stay in an environment where it can continue to discover price on an upward trajectory. That's the perfect melting pot for Bitcoin and cryptocurrency markets. And so we're going to look at more of the playbooks that have already been played throughout this week, what institutions have done coming into this weekend, because I think that's going to give us a real understanding of what we're looking for the cryptocurrency market, and specifically Bitcoin, of course, coming into this most manipulated time. You guys are watching the Snipers channel on a Friday. Remember to smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm. First, we'll start with Bitcoin as always. Inside of this flag, if we were to actually take the parallel channels tool, we could actually look more into this channel that's forming here. I don't use it often, so let me find the tool here. But there's a very nice tool you guys can use here, and it allows you to really determine where a channel has significant support and resistance. So notice if we were to take this channel here and we were to just kind of match it up with the current flag formation, right now Bitcoin is really starting to test the lower end of this channel. You can see with this dotted line, and we're starting to head towards this lower range. That coming into the weekend tells me that patience is key right now for those looking to get long entries for Bitcoin inside of this channel. What we really need to monitor is when is the true volume going to come in to move us out of this consolidation range. And if that volume comes to the downside, it's not going to be a long time that Bitcoin is going to be sitting at the levels below 30,000, because we know in the 6-hour chart, there's a ton of volume here below 30,000. A lot more buyers than sellers. So, of course, if enough sell pressure comes in to fill those order books, we could see some downside pressure. But as I've been talking about throughout the consolidation period over the last month here with Bitcoin, people have made decisions whether to enter their long entries into Bitcoin right now. there's a lot of pressure coming above 40,000 to the downside because a lot of people unfortunately got in at these higher ranges. If we were to look at the volume profile on the side, which I used to show on my charts, you would be able to see that. But we also know below 30,000 there's a lot of pressure. So we've been inside of this channel. If Bitcoin decides that it wants to come and test lower levels, if we see a mass influx of sell pressure, because so far we've rejected the 50-day moving average before even testing it, which is a sign of bearish continuation, then I believe the least severe scenario is going to come right back down below 30,000 one last time possibly to form another lower low, and that right there might be the last chance that we get in this market to get entries below 30,000 before we start to see continuation back into the $40,000 range heading towards Q4 of this year. We could be in a very prime opportunity here below all moving averages to be getting positions in the cryptocurrency market. So I think that this least severe scenario is certainly on the table to form a lower low. And the scenario beyond that would be a test of 20,000 or below 26,000 up to 20,000, so even maybe the $24,000 area. If that happens, I think this would be a short amount of time that investors would have to get those positions. If you don't already have long positions and buy limits on exchanges, I believe it's going to be such a fast move that you wouldn't be able to just log onto your exchange and get positions in, because these are the times that you might see Coinbase crash, for example. So having those orders in below 26,000 might be a wise decision just in case something happens and we start to see a lot of sell-side pressure. But at any point in time, I want you guys to realize that this monthly and weekly open is at 34,788 for a reason. If we get above 35,000 at any point in time, maybe we don't even come down and test any more lower levels, then we could really start looking at a bullish scenario for Bitcoin, because now this 50-day moving average is coming inside towards that $34,788 level. With this coming so close, the price action is going to either move to the downside or it's going to squeeze to the upside. And markets outside of Bitcoin look really good, but that doesn't take the scenario off the table because it's going to be a weekend. Markets are closed. Bitcoin does what it wants. So that's why patience may be the key into this weekend. If we get back above 34,708, we start assuming higher price action and possibly coming to test this 200-day moving average. It's now sitting at 44,800. It wouldn't be surprising for Bitcoin to get back to 44,800. Unfortunately, 49,700 is back, off the table. And initially 50,000 was on the table, then 49,700. But coming into this weekend, I don't think 49,700 is on the table. I think, you've got this 200 and this 100-day moving average here. We know there's a lot of pressure into 40,000. I think it's going to be tough for Bitcoin to get above this channel, really. So that $40,000 big even seems like a very tough area for Bitcoin. So that's what I'm watching. When it comes to altcoins, Ethereum, I believe, is going to be a monster coming into Q3 and Q4. I think we're going to see a lot of strength. I've been talking about Ethereum since the start of this year. We sent out a ton of trades for Ethereum, and you can see Ethereum above the 200-day moving average right now. That's very positive. If we see the downside scenario play out for Bitcoin, I think Ethereum has this 1440 area, this confluence here with this channel support. I don't ever see Ethereum getting back below 1400. I think that it's a very, very proven concept at this point. From the 2017 to 2018 bull market, we saw Ethereum come up to $1,400. And then through that bear cycle, it did come back down to $80. But think about 2018. All Ethereum was able to prove to institutions and retail investors was that it was an efficient means of raising funds, right? Initial coin offerings. This new 2020, 2021 altcoin bull run, it proved that not only is Ethereum a great way of raising funds, it's also going to be the foundations of decentralized finance, right? And I know there's Cardano and a lot of, other platforms, Polkadot and all, these other infrastructure projects coming out, but nothing can really take away what Ethereum has right now. Something that I've been talking about on the Discord as of recently is, if we look at, I'm going to actually just pull up the Discord for you guys. If we look at what's going on to Ethereum right now, it actually costs more to 51% attack Ethereum right now than it costs to 51% attack Bitcoin. So in my time in this market, I've personally never seen that ratio where it cost more to 51% attack Ethereum than it does to 51% attack Bitcoin, because that means that Ethereum is a more secure network right now. And yes, it's running off of proof of work and it's going to shift into proof of stake, but this proves that not only is Ethereum extremely decentralized, it's actually the most secure network right now. And this is all happening because look at the hash rate for Bitcoin now below the March 2020 lows. That's why I'm telling you guys, if you're not in the Discord, you're missing out. The link is in the description below. And then here's what I was talking about earlier. I'll just pull up the charts here. So we look at what's happening to Bitcoin, and this is actually an inverted chart of what's happening to Bitcoin right now. This is the exact chart. So if you invert this chart and you look at what's happening, this is the cup and handle that's sort of forming on an inverted Bitcoin to US dollar chart. And it's very similar to the gold to Bitcoin chart, right? So that's also an interesting correlation I wanted to bring up. I love throwing puzzle pieces at you guys. And if you're on the Discord, I throw a lot more puzzle pieces out there. And that's really all I want to talk about right now from the Discord. But Ethereum, it's really starting to prove itself. I'm not going to start talking about a flip, but what I am going to tell you guys is what I personally am researching and where I see things headed. And Ethereum is showing strength right now. Notice how we're above this 200-day moving average. We get to this weekly open at 1980. That's a support level. If this breaks, I think we could see a test of the $1,500 to $1,400 range. That's if there's a massive downside scenario for Bitcoin. If we stay above 1980 and we get back above this previous weekly open at 2240, then I think Ethereum is on the way up. I don't think we'll ever get back down below $2,000. It might be the end of this, bear market for Ethereum, because you look at the Ethereum to Bitcoin chart, we know this is an extremely bullish trend, and we could assume that we did get the test of the channel support here, because if we just take the bodies of these candles, this did actually find support here where we have this 100-day moving average. And so this is kind of irrelevant now. This was just a wick on a daily chart. If we start to see the 2240 level break US dollar price, that to me assumes that 70,000 Satoshis is also breaking. And if that's the case, we come straight to 86,000 Satoshis. So that's 18% just with that one breakout. And then that doesn't assume that we break out at 85 or 86,000 Satoshis. So, the others dominance chart is the altcoin chart that factors in Ethereum, and it's the most bullish in the cryptocurrency market. Part of that is because of Ethereum's strength right now, despite what Bitcoin is doing. And so holding this multi-year support level, if we start to see this push up, this could also be the indicator that Ethereum is leading the altcoin market into a extended bullish rally beyond Bitcoin's bear market, right? So we want to watch this because there's also confluence here at the 20-week moving average. So we get above 12.2% dominance. We start getting really above that 13%, heading towards where the monthly opens at. That's really confirming that altcoin season is certainly not over. As a matter of fact, it's the stronger assets in comparison to Bitcoin. Dominance starting to come down here with Bitcoin dominance is below the weekly open. So traditional markets closed. DXY, we saw the push that we wanted to the downside to get the environment that will allow Bitcoin to not see any extreme amounts of volatility into the weekend. I think that gives us the confidence that we'll at least either see that least severe or the most severe scenario I showed you guys, but nothing beyond that, because the DXY, coming back down is allowing the S&P 500 to continue its price discovery. That's a great thing. Gold showing some strength back above 1760, but not showing too much strength, which is actually a good thing because that shows confidence that institutions are hedging away from gold back into other markets. So things are looking good. VIX is coming down. As I mentioned earlier in this video, you want to see this come down, right? The volatility, you want the volatility down. That's a great thing. And with that, thank you all for tuning into the Snipers channel this Friday. If you want to win one of my favorite books on investing, Principles by Ray Dalio, comment below, share this video. You'll have a chance to win. Let's hit 300 likes on this video, Snipers. Family says, thanks, Naeem. You're the only one covering the movements of the DXY gold and traditional markets. They're all correlated, right? You could predict a lot of moves. If you look at the DXY, you could have predicted the end of the 2017 bull market for Bitcoin. You theoretically possibly could have predicted the top for Bitcoin in this rally as well, just by watching the DXY. So it matters. And with that, thank you all for tuning into the Snipers channel today. Until next time, Snipers